everyone. It is time for Wealthy You Wind Down Wednesdays. Come on in. Come on in. Let me see in the comments who is checking us out tonight, who's hanging out with us tonight. Let's welcome our Wealthy You Society members, as well as our new Wealthy You Society members, as well as our Wealthy You community members, where we continue to grow. And I'm so excited. Come on in. Let me know where you're from. So I see we've got Greensboro, North Carolina in the house as well. Let me know where you're from so I can do a shout out to you. I see we've got many of our Wealthy Youth Society members in as well. So come on in. Well, it's Wealthy You Wind Down Wednesday. And what are we talking about this Wednesday? Well, it's interesting. Uh, we've had a lot of growth in Wealthy You, and what I'm most excited about is media taking paying attention to this growth. And we've had several Wealthy You community members in the media recently being interviewed by other media outlets. And yours truly has been uh, doing some interviews on a number Black News Channel, um, love NPR Weekend. Let's see. Oh, PBS as well. And the funny thing is, sometimes I do interviews, with a lot of different media outlets, and I forget that they're taken, that they've even done. And then once they air, we get a lot of people joining us. So if you're joining us because maybe you saw us on Facebook, maybe a friend referred you, we're glad you're here. So let me just begin by saying I'm Deborah Owens, and I'm founder and CEO of Wealthy You, where we help Black women build their first seven-figure investment portfolios and beyond. And that's what we're really excited about. Definitely want to give some shout outs. Ruth Simpson from New Jersey. Hey, hey. Melissa Steichel from one of our Wealthy You members, Brooklyn, New York. Brooklyn in the house. Lynn Rochelle from Alabama, where my family hails from. So, hello. We've got Paula from Chicago, Chi-Town. I see there are a number of folks in the house. And as you come in, let me know where you hail from so I can give you a shout out. So it is Wealthy You Wind Down. And if you've never seen Wealthy You Wind Down, I want you to grab your favorite glass of vino. I'm back to my cabs, y'all. I gave the rosé just a little bit of, a little bit of notoriety, but I'm back to a Cabernet Sauvignon. So let's say salute, and let's get Wealthy You Wind Down started. So, what am I talking about this evening? Well, as I mentioned earlier, what I'm really excited about is the kind of exposure that Wealthy You is getting. Now, the Wealthy You exposure is not about me, it's about the mission. And our mission is to help 1 million Black women build $1 million in net worth because of the impact that will make on our community. And it's interesting. I've really been leaning into this sort of insight that I've had. And so, just to give you a little bit of background, Wealthy You launched in 2015. Since then, I personally have coached thousands of women. We opened up our first community, our Wealthy Youth Society membership, which is a 12-month program, and we just celebrated 1 year last month in May. And so some of our Wealthy You members are either have completed the program, and some are still here with us. And so one of the neat things about that I love about Wealthy You is it's really about not only the coaching, not only our curriculum, but also our community. And this tight knit community really becomes like a family because the whole point of Wealthy You is to become that bridge, if you will, to accessibility to invest. Now it's interesting in the past few interviews, after listening to them, one of the things that is very, very apparent to me is how, when I say that the fact is the reason the wealth gap is so wide is because so many, particularly Black women, are first generation investors. So, how many of you can relate to that? If you can relate to that, and if you're a first generation investor, in the comments, let me know that, right? Because that seems to have really resonated in many of the interviews that I've done. And so, what to just give you kind of some insight around how I began to recognize the significance of what it means to be first generation is I was attending in a training because I myself am not only do I coach, but I'm a big proponent of getting coached. So excellent, excellent, excellent. So Lynn says, I can relate. Jacqueline says, I'm a first generation investor. Bobby Owens says, first in my family. That's right. And so I want to give you guys a little bit of background on how I personally recognize the implication of that. So I'm at a training with over 100 very successful entrepreneurs. And at that training, we were there for a couple of days. And the person that was hosting that training had a woman come in from a university that focuses on helping, they have a program for first generation minority entrepreneurs. And in listening to her talk about the obstacles and the barriers that first generation entrepreneurs have in scaling their businesses, the statistic really stood out for me, and it was that for Black owned entrepreneurs, the majority of Black entrepreneurs, their median revenues are about $44,000. Now that's revenues. I'm talking top line, not bottom line. That's even before expenses. And she said in their research, what they began to understand is that inability to scale is directly related to never having grown a business and not really having a blueprint. You guys understand what I'm saying? So in the chat says, blueprint, right? No blueprint. So you're basically starting things from scratch. You have no infrastructure. You have no you have no standard operating procedures. You're basically chasing after the next dollar. And if any of you are entrepreneurs, can you relate to that? And so, you know, not only did I relate to that first generation investor, but I really, breathed kind of like a sigh of relief. Because here's what I want to say is that so often what can happen is we can be looking to the left and to the right. How many of you have ever looked into the left or the right? Or, maybe you grew up with somebody and, maybe they moved ahead socioeconomically and you were thinking, well, wow, how come that didn't happen to me? Or you're looking to the right and you see, maybe some of your friends or people that you knew are now getting a lot of notoriety and they're becoming very successful, and you're figuring, why not me? Why not me? And in truth, when the first, what do I want to say? My first foray into entrepreneurship after leaving that big investment firm was not WealthyU. It was me really wanting to be kind of more of an inspirational speaker and an empowerment speaker. And so I went on to write these books. So that's how it started out, me writing books. My first book was Confident Investing, a wealth building guide for women. And really the way that book deal came to me was from speaking. And you write that first book, and my first book was published by Macmillan, and you think, man, everything's about to change, right? And so it did give me a lot of exposure and credibility by being that published author. And I had some great gigs, went on to consult with some very large companies, like the Walmarts, State Farm was one of my first clients. So I was kind of Allstate. I was kind of in that kind of financial services industry where I was no longer advising. Now I was consulting, right, and speaking and training their salespeople, right? And so, to be honest with you, those first years were very, very difficult because I didn't have any kind of operating manual. And I've been honest with you guys, I joined a lot of these organizations that I was told to join, got a lot of consulting from the SBA and, women's businesses organizations. I'm not going to name them, but all I'm going to say is that I spent a lot of time spinning my wheels and looking to the left and the right in these organizations and seeing, people starting out where I was and then just boom, they would take off and I really didn't understand why it was so difficult and hard, almost to the point where I actually did go back into corporate America because it was hard. And I was like, well, I could be out here, maybe top line hitting my six-figure numbers, but bottom line, not near of what I had earned in a corporation. And so, when I hear, can we be real, y'all? Can we be real? Because now there is this, I don't want to call it fantasy. It's not really a fantasy. It's like you have all these people espousing the benefits of an entrepreneur and unlimited income and riches. Well, can we talk a minute? Because if you look how that plays itself out for first generation entrepreneurs and first generation Black entrepreneurs as a whole, what you will see is that the struggle is real. And that's because we didn't have any kind of role model, right? Because we were first generation investors, unlike some of our counterparts who in some cases inherited their business, in some cases, just had access to the kind of insight and business prowess that many first generation investors don't have the kind of mentors, or go into strategic partnerships, win-win partnerships, know how to do strategic alliances. So many of the things that were foreign to me that I wasn't even exposed to. Getting back to my first comment, when I'm sitting in this room and this woman says, yes, you're a first generation entrepreneur, so of course it's going to be more difficult. But what was in common with WealthyU and what I recognized is that these three things, and this is the process, if you will, or the unique operating insight of WealthyU, and that's mindset, strategy, execution applied here too. And so if you've been in WealthyU or you've been in any training that we do or any of the coaching, the one thing that we start with, right, is your belief system. Because the truth is that attitudes, beliefs, and behavior, beliefs, right, really influence whatever you believe is true. And so if you believe you can or you believe you can't, both of those are true, right? And so that's why in WealthyU, we spend so much time on mindset. Is in WealthyU, we talk about having a poverty mindset, a poor mindset, a middle class mindset, an affluent mindset, a rich mindset, and then the pinnacle of WealthyU is developing that wealth mindset. Literally, you have to be deprogrammed, right, from this income mindset which was the kind of operating structure that we were all that was given to us in order for us to be successful. We were taught college, career, house, pension, right? That's what we saw our parents do. But then the kind of game shifted and they introduced these 401ks, and the lifetime job was no longer an option. And even if you did, you had to create that 401k. So in WealthyU's world, that's mindset. But this woman blew me away when she started talking about first generation entrepreneur and not having an entrepreneur mindset, because I want you guys to get this, because we had been given this kind of blueprint and mindset of the earner, right? So we had the mindset of the earner and not the owner. You guys with me? And so what's really interesting is about that is in one of our recent challenges, I was equating the income mindset to the earner mindset, right? And the wealth mindset to the owner mindset. And one of the attendees blew us away because it resonated with her so deeply that she created this income earner mindset graphic. And if I can pull it up, I am going to try to pull it up for you. But so I want to stay on this thought, right? I'm going back to the fact that I'm sitting in this room. The woman says to me, first generation entrepreneur, and all of these mindset issues that we have because we've been conditioned to be earners and earn an income. And even when we start our businesses, I want you guys to get this. I want you guys to write this down. Even when we start businesses, because we still have that earner mindset, you know what we create for ourselves in our businesses? We create a job. I want you guys to get this, right? And so I'm sitting there, and I mean, I'm telling you guys, I literally wanted to get up and run around the room because it was like a eureka moment for me. Because I said, that's it. That's exactly it. And that is that WealthyU, for most of our members, are first generation investors. And that allowed me to, just have a whole different perspective on how we needed to be delivering the coaching, the curriculum, and the community. Who's that making sense to? Does that make sense to you? Like, when you're a first generation entrepreneur or you're a first generation investor, the first thing that has to be changed about that paradigm is your mindset, right? So say that mindset, right? Like, in order for you to shift from an earner to an owner, right? And from the income mindset to a wealth mindset, you have to literally believe differently. And so your attitudes and your beliefs and behaviors in the new, like in the new paradigm that you're working in has to shift, or you can't be successful. That's number one, right? So that's mindset. If that, give me some love in the hearts. If this is making sense to you, in the comments, let me know it is making sense, because this is so important for anyone who wants to truly achieve the level of financial success that they desire. The first thing is mindset. You have to literally stop thinking as an earner that you have this fixed mindset, that the only way that you can create wealth or money is earning it, right? Like you earning it, you're the earner. I mean, in order for you to shift, even if you are an earner, you still have to begin to shift. And this is the point I want to make, why I had to really rethink the way we approached, the way we were able to make an impact and deliver what our wealthy you operating system, right? Operating system. That's exactly what it is, a system. So our system is mindset, strategy, execution, right? And another part of that is analyze, optimize, maximize. I'll get to that in a minute. Is this making sense to you guys? Okay. So in order for you to move, even as an employee, you still have to learn how to shift from just being an earner. And the way you do is you take your income and you take those assets and you turn them into assets that can then create wealth. Right? I want you to get this, right? Like the problem is for having this income mindset and the way we were trained, right? And to believe what financial success is that we were trained to believe that the more income we made, the more successful we would be, when in fact that is the furthest from the truth ever. Right? The real determinant for wealth is your net worth. So it's not your income. Yes, income is a part of that. But do you know what the most important, or what can make the biggest impact on your increasing your net worth? In the comments, tell me if you know. What aspect can impact, what factor, right, can have the most impact on your net? Well, there are actually two, but one is the biggest. So what are the two things that will increase your net worth? In the chat, in the comments, let me know. What factor, what can you do to increase your net worth? So let me just define it for you. I'm not going to get too technical, but your net worth is assets, right, minus liabilities equals net worth. So the more assets, the less liabilities you have, right, the more your net worth increases. Or the more assets you have, the more your net worth increases. Okay, so here's what I want you to know. So Margaret says retirement and home ownership. Deborah says investing. Here's what I want you to know. The most impactful thing you can do to increase your net worth, and which is wealth, right? Like that, if that network is positive, that's your wealth, and the more it goes up, the higher your wealth. Do you want to know what it is? It's assets, right? It's assets. So assets are stocks, bonds, Real estate. The more you take your income and you invest it in assets that do what? That appreciate in value without you having to do anything. That is the secret to wealth. Are you with me? Are you with me? Well, life insurance does build cash value, right? But at the end of the day, an asset that will generate income while you sleep. You know, Warren Buffett said it best. He says it best. He says, if you don't learn how to make money while you sleep, you will work until you die. Are you with me? And so let me tell you what I had to also understand. That's right. Lynn Rochelle says, I'm with you. Okay. Laverne says, I'm with you. Laverna says, I'm with you, right? So I want you guys to, because fundamentally, this is the secret. The secret is the system. I want you to get this. The secret is the system, right? So for example, when you buy a stock of a company, that company has a system that will consistently generate profits, right? And those profits make the value of the company go up when they can do it consistently and grow it over time, over time, over time, over time. It's the system, right? So that's why in WealthyU, we talk about having a wealthy system, right? And that system is one in which you have a system of turning your income into assets. And the easiest way to do it with the least amount of personal effort is to invest in somebody's system that has a proven track record and that can produce a consistent result. Do y'all hear me? Okay. So I walk away. I want you guys to get when I had my eureka moment and why this is so powerful. Right. So I'm talking about, first I talked about mindset. Now I'm talking about strategy, right? So I'm telling you the strategy then is to turn your income into assets. That's the strategy, right? So you have to begin to look around for where can I take my income and turn it into assets, and those assets can systematically, repetitively create now those assets are creating the income. And guess what? When your assets generate income, you no longer have to. Is this making sense to you? Right? Like, so that is the secret. So we were given a roadmap really that had us as earners, right? Like earners. So every dime we make, we have to go in and trade our time for it. And so at some point, what you want to happen is you get to the point where you no longer have